Hey guys, it's a Camera Summer Show. Today we got a special guest, my good friend. He's gonna be with us today. I know y'all excited about this. I'm excited. I'm starting to sweat. I'm sweating so bad. So we'll get to this now. We'll talk to this guy, Cal Yeoman, my man. What's going on, buddy?
How's it going, Cameron? Glad to be along
I'm
with
doing
you. And
great,
of
man. You
course,
look you
going
look like
back
a
to our
brand.
old,
You look like a younger guy coming up from a out of a Lucky Charm box, man. I mean, you look young. You look very young, man. You look very young. So okay,
well,
so
hey, I appreciate it.
so let's talk about the Cowboys this past season. They had a season to win. They had they could lose a few games. They could win a lot of games. With Dak Prescott's injury and all that, and this season they were like getting close. They was going to the playoffs, but somehow or another they just fall off the wheels. So this offseason, what do you think they're going to do with with Dak Prescott's contract? Since you're a Cowboys analyst and you're probably
Mhm.
keeping up with what Jerry Jones is doing, what they're going to do here in these next few weeks and months down the road during the draft.
Well, I think they're ultimately their top priority is taking care of Dak Prescott. They want him to be the future of the franchise. They want him to be their starting quarterback, and they know they have a franchise quarterback in what Dak brings to the table. And so I mean, the leverage has gone back and forth. I mean, you talk about Jerry Jones and you talk about kind of the negotiation process that he goes through, and he uses everybody as a negotiation tool. The media, he uses teammates, he uses coaches, and all sorts of different stuff along the way. But really, the leverage is there with Dak Prescott, and the way that things kind of ended up after the injury, and the way that he's working his way back, and all the reports right now from sources are saying that he will work his way back and be better than ever as a quarterback following the compound fracture in his ankle. So I think ultimately the ball is now in Jerry Jones's court, and I think they know that as well. I think the Cowboys understand where the leverage lies, and that's with Dak Prescott after a disappointing season put together by the Cowboys. I mean, anytime you lose double-digit games, you're going to be disappointed, and that's exactly what happened with the Cowboys. And I think you look at it as an opportunity for them to maybe right some wrongs. The fact that they hadn't gotten that deal done previously, and it's something that I think they'll look at in the future as we should have done this a long time ago. Should have gotten him locked up back in 2018 rather than waiting until 2021 in order to do so. But I think he's a priority. I think he'll be back with Dallas. I don't think necessarily they would look to trade him. I don't think they would look to let him test the market. I don't think either one of those are opportunities for Dak Prescott. I think they want him to be a Cowboy, and I think he wants to be a Cowboy moving forward.
Right, and so this season, for this offseason during this NFL draft, what they really need on defense? Where Cowboys got some a lot of old veterans, so where they need to start looking into in this first round in the draft.
Well, Cam, they need a little bit of everything. They need help from God Himself on that defense in order to really fix it all. No, I think you start with the secondary and the defensive line. I mean, your defensive tackles this past year were banged up. You lost Gerald McCoy in training camp, and he was supposed to be kind of the anchor of your defensive line. But you had some young guys like a Tristan Hill step up prior to his injury. Neville Gallimore, a rookie out of Oklahoma, who had a pretty decent first year in the league, and so I think you feel pretty good about the investment that you've put up front. But there's a lot of really talented secondary players in the first couple rounds of this NFL draft. And I think you can potentially look at a guy like Caleb Farley, a Virginia Tech corner, or Patrick Surtain, who's out of Alabama with that number 10 overall pick. And then you move into the later rounds, and there's some safeties there, even some from Fort Worth down the road that played at TCU that are going to be really good NFL players. And so I think there's a lot of options when it comes to the secondary. So I think that's where they'll probably look for the draft to be their main influx of talent is via the NFL draft in April, and then I think maybe free agency will address a lot of the other needs for the Cowboys defensively, whether it is linebacker, bringing in a veteran to play alongside a Leighton Vander Esch or Jalen Smith, because you're pretty much looking at Sean Lee maybe being at the end of his career, and then at defensive tackle, I think ultimately you're really trying to beef that position up and try and stop the run with new defensive coordinator Dan Quinn.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of veterans on that team, man. I think do you think they need to move up in the drafting board to get these defensive line, or do you think they need more in the offensive line? What do you think in this situation in this draft? It's so hard. I mean, they got some some good players coming out from colleges where there are like Urban Meyer and Ohio State. I mean, they're like some like in those areas like I don't think Cowboys really don't need a quarterback at this time. I mean, really, they got their future quarterback, and he's going to stay here to stay. So, which round do you think they need to start looking into the O lines, defensive ends, or something like that? In the first or in the second round?
Yeah, I think defensive line, you could probably wait until the second round. There's not really a ton of defensive line talent in this draft. I think probably the best one would be a Christian Barmore out of Alabama, a really solid defensive tackle who flashed during kind of the later parts of the season for the Crimson Tide. So I think you could look there in the second round. Whenever it comes to the offensive line, I think you could really draft at any point here. You've got 3 or 4 guys up at the top of the list in the first round, like a Christian Darrisaw or a Rashawn Slater or even a Penei Sewell. You talked about trading up, it would take a lot to trade up to go get Penei Sewell. But I mean, there are a lot of offensive tackles there that you could potentially take. And I think I like Rashawn Slater out of Washington, a guy who you could potentially put at guard and then move back out to tackle whenever Tyron Smith's career comes to an end. So like you said, there's a lot of veterans out there, Cam, but I think you would look at the offensive line as maybe being where you look in the first round, and then maybe look at defensive line second, third, fourth, and so on.
Yeah. So without any scouting, without any combine this year, how are the scouters from this Cowboys standpoint use as a pro day, or are they going to just go to the to the colleges somewhere? Where are they going to when they're going to start doing those virtual callings and something like that that's going to start off?
Yeah, I mean, the fact about the combine is that it's ultimately going to be all virtual, and it's of course the decision made because of the COVID-19 pandemic and having to find a way to keep personnel and players safe, and so they're going to do all the pro days at these different colleges and expect really anybody and everybody to compete and to put some measurements out there because in a season like this, especially when there were so many opt outs and so many players that did not play their college football season based on the fact that they were going to go to the NFL and they really didn't want to go through the COVID-19 pandemic. It's going to be even more crucial to put some tape out there and put some measurements out there. So you'll see a lot of these players take advantage of that by going to the pro days, and these scouts are going to watch the pro days live, I would assume, or at least have the tape from those pro days and then send a lot of guys throughout the country as well. It's going to be tough. I mean, the virtual meetings are not there anymore. And or they will be there as opposed to in-person meetings. And then there's only going to be limited medical exams. And the medical exams are the most important part of the NFL Combine, of being able to go through and really look at these players and look at their past injury history and kind of learn about them physically as well as mentally with these meetings. And they don't necessarily get that same kind of thought process as you would on a normal occasion. So it'll be a draft process unlike any other. First time since 1987 that the draft process or the draft combine has not been in Indianapolis. So it's going to be a tough task for all of these scouts.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot believe with all this pandemic going on and how NFL just maneuver the games and how Roger Goodell, nobody didn't give any credit to Roger Goodell. I mean, everybody thought, oh, we don't like him, throw him out of the toilet, put him somewhere, give him the old folks home or something like that. But the guy really did a great job. I mean, from not missing any games, not making like an 18-week football league. So what do you expect this year with next season with maybe a preseason game, maybe OTAs? How are they going to do all this from this pandemic wise?
I think it's going to look really similar next year to what it is now, and I wouldn't be surprised if down the line, I mean, the with the vaccine coming out, the vaccine might be recommended or not even recommended, but maybe required by the league in order to play. So I think it's going to be so tough, Cam, because it's been so unpredictable already. If you would have told me in March of last year that we would be in 2021 talking about the draft being virtual all over again, I don't know if I would have believed you. I think I would have said that it'll be over by then. There's so much of unpredictability with it, and really that hasn't been the case. It's still going on. This pandemic is real. It's something that people need to continue to take seriously, and I think that's exactly what the league is doing. I think they take it seriously, and it's not just about the players, and it's not just about uh, their availability, but it's about the safety of their families, and it's about the safety of the fans as well. I mean, and so with all of that being said, it's going to be something that I think will continue to plague the Cowboys, no pun intended there, and plague the NFL over the next couple of months. And it's going to be a lot of decision making to come. I don't think the draft is going to look any different than it did last year ultimately, and I think it's going to be something that the whole league is going to have to adjust to, and it's going to be something different that everybody will look at. But hopefully, we get through this thing. Everybody continues to stay safe, and we get these numbers down enough to where things can go back to normal for the 2021 season. And you get a preseason, and you get those OTAs in person, and there's so many different ways to do it. Hopefully, that's the case moving forward.
So, Kyle, let me get this question to you, and I know you're alumni of the North Texas. I know, and you did a great job of broadcasting a football game. I didn't really I looked at it, but I mean, you're like a professional. Like you're not even sweating. I mean, you're just like just a cool guy, you know. So how does it feel to be in there working these guys on ESPN and do you think there's a down the road you might do more for ESPN for doing live coverage or broadcasting down the road?
Yeah, I mean it's fun because I mean I'm with the Cowboys full time, and I host the pre and post game shows, and I get to do the podcasts every week, and those guys are really, I mean, it's like family. The Cowboys family is definitely that, and I love the Cowboys nation and Cowboys fans everywhere. And then on the side, I get to do the ESPN stuff, and I get to go and do some college football and do some college basketball. I've got some college softball coming up here in a little while. And so, yeah, I've got some stuff on the horizon, and continuing to try and do more, and work with the schools around the area, and continue to blossom into a broadcaster that people really enjoy listening to, and that brings the light to the game. I mean, that's the thing about being a broadcaster. A lot you can get carried away with yourself, and you want to, sure, you want to get your name out there and you want to be known, absolutely, but at the same time, it's about the game that's being broadcasted. It's about the sport that people want to tune into. People tune into, I mean, I know you're a big LSU Tigers fan. You're going to tune into an LSU game no matter what. Depending on the broadcasters, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to want to watch it. But you want those broadcasters to be entertaining, and you want them to be knowledgeable, and you want to learn something whenever you watch your team. And so that's something that I'm continuing to try and learn, and grow upon. I mean, it was just a couple years ago, I was with you at ESPN Central Texas, and we were having a ton of fun there with Smokey and the guys. And I mean, that was a lot of the foundation and the learning that I had early in my career, and that's continuing on. I still think I'm very early in my career, and I want to continue growing as a broadcaster. So yeah, plenty on the horizon, my friend.
I have this question here. I know uh, what his name is Mike. I mean, it's not Mike Sham or what's his name? I forgot his name. I forgot his
Brad,
name. There you go. Do you think if he retires, you might take his spot as a row of the Cowboys broadcast, be the voice of the Cowboys someday?
oh man,
I'm
no,
sorry
I
to
I
even
love
start
Brad
right there, but
Chan.
I had to put it in there. That was a question in my
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, you are putting me on the spot. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I love Brad, and honestly, that's a guy who's going to continue to doing his job at a high level for years and years to come. I think he is
I mean Brad Shem.
nowhere
I'm
close
sorry.
to that.
I thought Mike Shem, not Brad Shem. I'm sorry. I thought he had a son named Mike.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but I think he's going to continue doing things for at a high level for a very long time. And I think, hey, if the time comes and I am the replacement, then that would be fantastic. I would have an absolute blast of that. But right now, this is going to sound like a head coach, but I'm worried about kind of growing day to day. I'm worried about getting better, and providing the best coverage and content that Cowboys Nation deserves. But hey, I'd love that. I think that'd be fantastic. Brad does a great job, and that whole crew with Babe Loffenberg and Christy Scales, they are fantastic. They are really state of the art. There's a reason why they're legends around this area is because they are so good at what they do and they treat people the right way. And I love that about all three of those people.
Yeah, I really like the broadcast, what Brad Sham does, and all of them guys. But kind of that's talking about NFL and Joe Burrow. I know last season was Joe Burrow was about him and Justin Huber and all those guys that were rookies. But I think these quarterbacks now in their rookie year going to their second year, is that really makes like other quarterbacks like Phillip Rivers finally retired his 17th season as a quarterback. Do you think it's kind of like your body gets kind of like tired and for 17 seasons? But I know Tom Brady's thinking, I'm still 43. I can fling a football and never get old. You think is this time for Tom? Do you think it's time for Tom Brady to retire when he gets this championship, the Super Bowl out of his mind?
I don't think you could. I don't think you could say that at all about Tom Brady. I mean, this is a guy who continues to go to championship games, and you've got like all the like you said, all these young quarterbacks that are working their way up the ranks as well, and they hope to have the same kind of career that Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady had. I mean, 17 years as a starting quarterback in the league is fantastic in its own right. And then you got Tom Brady who continues to do it and continues to go to championship games. And I don't think Tom has any idea on when he wants to slow it down. And Phillip Rivers, of course, announcing today that he's going to slow it down and retire. But I mean, he's of course family is a huge priority to him, and credit more to those guys. I mean, they are legends at the quarterback position, and hopefully Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert can get to that point as well.
Yeah, and forgot about Drew Brees. He's in the retirement stage too.
Yeah.
So these are the Hall of Famers going to. I think Tom Brady's going to be to the point where him and Gronk will just retire together, get that two more championships on their minds. So let's talk about this Super Bowl. Let's talk about this two, can I say, championship weekends. You got the Packers, you got the Bucks, you got the Chiefs, you got the Bills, Patrick Mahomes, and that protocol concussion. These these two games, and the Bills were just on red hot this year. And you have the Buccaneers where, everyone thought the Bucks will lose against the Saints. They never did. They kept trucking. These two games, who do you think will come out to be in the Super Bowl this year and take it all?
It's tough because if Patrick Mahomes is healthy, then I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I mean, they're the best team in the NFL, I think, completely. But without Patrick Mahomes and without your leader, that's tough. And so I think if Mahomes plays, it'll be the Chiefs. If Mahomes does not play, I think the Bills actually win that game because, like you said, they're red hot and they're very good in their own rights. On the other side, I think it's going to be the Packers. I really love what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Sure, Tom Brady's great and he's a legend in his own right, but Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. And if it wasn't Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams needs to be in the conversation because Adams has been as good as any receiver has been in any NFL season over the last 10 years. He's been really, really, really good and as efficient as a red zone target as you can be. And he's done it against everybody. Last week he gets Jalen Ramsey, and he's going to have his work cut out for him against Tampa Bay as well. But I think he's going to have a lot of success. I think the Packers get their revenge on Tampa Bay and the Buccaneers.
Aaron Rodgers on the to win to win the game. I mean, I think the Super Bowl is really going to be interesting. I like the Packers. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, how he does with the fling the football and everything, and you got the Chiefs. Who you think in that game in the Super Bowl? Who do you think is going to win, Kyle?
Who? That's tough because I mean that's going to be really good on both occasions. But I think I would probably go with once again if Kansas City has Mahomes, it's hard to bet against them. It's hard to get bet against the Chiefs, and so I think the Chiefs could potentially win that game and go back to back. But it's also hard against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say I'm going to pick the Packers here to win the Super Bowl, but it's because of the uncertainty on Patrick Mahomes. I think if I'm going to pick them either way, I'll pick the Packers regardless. But I think either way, it's going to be fun to watch because I mean, any way you slice it, any kind of matchup you're going to get in the Super Bowl, you're going to have two great quarterbacks, and you're going to have two really good teams.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, I'm with the Packers too, man. I mean, I know everybody thinks the Packers is not that great of a team, but you look at their resume, they got an offense and defense that's very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this Urban Meyer hire for the Jags. Now, I could say to myself that was a good hire. I give like maybe an A or a B. But with his health resume, his health has been kind of, off and on. Do you think that's a good hire for the Jags to get Urban Meyer, just get that fan base going with the team and the players, trying to figure out what their defense kind of looked bad this year, this past offseason? You think that was a good hire for the Jags?
It's going to be tough because I think that was the premier job in the NFL this offseason, just based on the fact that you have so much of the draft capital, you have the number one overall pick, and you're going to get Trevor Lawrence, and you're going to have a quarterback to build around. So that was a really high profile hire, but I don't know why you would go to Urban Meyer. You go to the college ranks to pull a guy to the NFL. I mean, it really is. It's kind of interesting to think about the thought process here. And you look at some of the other guys who have gone from college to the NFL. I mean, Nick Saban didn't have a ton of success in Miami. Matt Rule is currently doing it at Carolina. I mean, there's countless of coaches who went from college to the NFL and have had some success, but really it's a short list. But I think there's going to be a lot of close eyes on what Urban Meyer has to do. It's a big name hire, and I think the Jags are going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to turn around in one season. It's going to take 2 or 3 years for that Jaguars team to really kind of figure things out again and build a young core of players in order to do that. And they're going to have to do it with a new GM as well. And so Urban Meyer is going to have to work with a GM. That's something he never had to do at the college level at Ohio State or Florida. Never had to work as a GM or work with a GM that's over the top of them, and then also ownership as well. So this is going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be it's an experiment for Urban Meyer, and I'm going to be watching very closely for sure.
Yeah, that's about the okay. That's ranked. That's ranked the coaches this year for hiring. Who do you think had the best hire out of the all season? Well, kind of sort of the all season.
It's kind of hard because a lot of those coaches still haven't been hired yet. I mean, there's still a lot of guys that are still on the market. I mean, look at the Eagles; they're interviewing everybody to try and replace Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's still out on the market, so I don't know. I feel like right now you can't necessarily rank these hires just yet because one, you can't really rank a hire initially based on the fact that you haven't seen them in a season. You can only base off of what you think about certain guys and their reputation previously. But I think overall, there's a lot that still has to kind of unfold with this coaching carousel before things really settle down.
Yeah, I know. It's been kind of interesting this whole year about coaching and defense coordinators and all of that. So let's talk about NASCAR. I know you're going to be to the point where you're going to start doing some NASCAR stuff for IndyCar, for just trucks and NASCAR itself. Last season was I'm honestly going to tell you this. Nobody ever thought about Chase Elliott won a championship. Nobody ever doubted the guy. I mean, he got his, you know, okay, car six that had 16 and down to 4,
Mhm.
and Chase won. So get your insight about last year's Cup Series, how they managed around the whole COVID thing, and Chase won the championship.
You talked about the NFL doing a great job with COVID-19 and kind of keeping things fresh and doing it all the way. I think really NASCAR did a great job of it too. And like you said, I've done some Texas Motor Speedway announcing, and I love keeping up with NASCAR. And Chase Elliott's actually one of my favorite drivers at the moment. So I was happy to see him win, but it was so entertaining. I mean, switching the schedule around, and the championship wasn't at Homestead, Miami. Instead, it's in Phoenix. And you had the championship run at Phoenix. My gosh, it was really super fun to watch. Joey Logano was great. I mean, Brad Keselowski got up there into the very end. And I mean, there were a lot of really talented drivers. Of course, the final season of Jimmy Johnson full-time in the NASCAR Cup Series. And so there was a lot to look at and a lot to watch. And I like the switching of the schedules. I know they're doing that again this year, Cam. You talked about that off air a little bit. And I'm excited to see kind of the shifting of NASCAR. They're trying to make it more entertaining for the fans. But, man, I thought last year was about as entertaining as it got to watch full time, even though there weren't as many fans in the stands as there normally would be due to COVID restrictions. But, man, it was a good season.
Yeah, it was. And I know you got a few minutes to spare. Let's talk about the Rolex 24 Daytona. You got Jimmy Johnson, you got Chase Elliott. I don't know about the other guys. You have the three the big dudes. What do you like about? I like this Rolex 24. I'm a big fan of Rolex 24. I saw Jeff Gordon won his Rolex 24 watch. Do you think now this is where time you think Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott might get that watch, whereas Jimmy can say, "I'll hang it, see you later." That's what be in my resume. You think?
I don't know. That's going to be tough because, like you said, I mean, Jeff Gordon won his Rolex race, and
Yeah,
I mean, there's been NASCAR drivers who have had a lot of success with 24 hours of Daytona, and I think it'll be interesting to look at whenever you. I'm not as into the Daytona Rolex as I am like maybe the Daytona 500 and stuff previously, but man, I think it'll be fun to watch guys like Chase Elliott get into it. I wish NASCAR would do more with it. I wish like there would be more NASCAR participation and teams that are in there and things like that. But man, it sure is going to be. I think it's a fantastic race. I think it's super cool that the fans can just kind of go all day, literally all day, 24 hours, and they race through the rain and they race through the storms and all sorts of different stuff. And I think it's a true testament and it's a true challenge to the endurance of all of these drivers, and it'll be fun to watch as always.
Okay, I got a last one, buddy. This year's 21 schedule. I looked at the NASCAR. There's one on the calendar I would like to watch. Is in Bristol. It's gonna be a dirt track, change the track to a dirt.
Yeah.
And I know Tony Stewart and all the fans that love Tony Stewart. I know he was pissed off about Aldora was never been on the schedule. Do you think NASCAR did a right decision to bring the dirt to Bristol?
Yes. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You talk about having so much fun with the NASCAR schedule. Let's just throw some dirt in the mix. I mean, they threw underlights on the cars at Bristol last year. Let's throw some dirt under them tires. I think that's going to be so much fun to watch. I might try and travel up to Bristol, Tennessee for that race. I mean, that's going to be just unbelievable. But man, I think it'll be super cool to watch. I think Bristol's going to be rocking as always, and it'll bring a lot of excitement around that race overall. I don't know who's going to win. Honestly, I don't know who would be best in dirt. I know Kyle Larson was really good in dirt, and he'll be back at Team Hendrick this year. I know he'll probably be right in the middle of the mix. And I don't know, maybe a guy like Tony Stewart comes back, gets out of retirement and comes and teaches, Chase Elliott maybe. I mean, a lot of these guys started on dirt, but man, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Hey, Kyle, thanks for your time, man. I know we're going to do this again someday soon. Good luck, man, and hopefully we see you then, man.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cam, for having me. Appreciate you, buddy.
You too, buddy. Peace out. All right, man. See you later, buddy.